Hello and welcome to today's Kopala TV main news. We get straight into the headlines. Kapianga warns HH and UPND against taking thugs to Mochinga province. Nakai's demand for an urgent national indaba over CSE. Mulemwa says political violence perpetrated by cadres should be condemned. And in foreign news, pause clause in Guinea's 10th presidential election. Join us in a bit after this. To present the Kopala TV menus, my name is Kopala. PF Mochinga Province Youth Chairperson Francis Robert Kapianga has warned Hakainde Hichilema and UPND against taking a band of thugs to Mochinga Province for the purpose of causing violence on innocent people. And he has challenged Mr. Hakainde Hichilema to show leadership by only sending the thugs that are supposed to appear before police in Mochinga Province. Mr. Kapianga told Kopala TV main news in Mochinga Province that the opposition UPND should desist from provoking the people of Mochinga as they got to appear before the police for the crimes they committed when they act innocent Mununga residents and abducted two police officers. It says Mochinga is a very peaceful province and HH and UPND should avoid turning it into a violence-infested dwelling.
Provokers. This is a bedroom for President Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu. Mochinga remains so. And we as his sons are always ready to take care of the bedroom, to even kill the cockroaches as well as rats that enter our father's bedroom. That is our responsibility. But we respect the fact that Zambia is a peaceful country. And our president, His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu, has always preached this, and he has always demonstrated that indeed he is a peaceful president. So the UPND should not provoke anyone as they come. Otherwise, we are ready to take care of our father's bedroom. We also call the police to ensure that the real culprits of the Wednesday instance where our people were hacked and where two police officers were abducted should be brought to book.
National Executive Director Aaron Chansa told Kopala TV News that the debate over CSE has been raging in Zambia for some months now, but it is actually very disappointing that up to now they cannot see any preparations for this highly anticipated gathering. Mr. Chansa said that they are pleading with government to quickly call for this important process now and not later. It says Nakaz is also disappointed with some Zambians who want to undermine the call for the dialogue over the CSE by the Republican Vice President.
Demanding for this indaba over comprehensive sexuality education, we think that the Ministry of General Education should lead this dialogue process as opposed to national guidance at the religious affairs. This issue is curriculum tied, and we think that having national affairs lead this process will be a taboo. The Vice President has guided that we need to go for a dialogue over this important matter, and it is also very disappointing that up to now we have not heard or seen anything towards having this event. As an organization, we are also very disappointed that there are people, prominent Zambians, who are disturbing this process by demonizing everyone who is in support of this process and also is supporting ESEs.
Former Copper Belt Minister Munya Musenge has said he has formed a political party called Agenda for Human Development, but it is not yet registered. Mr. Musenge, who is also former Chimomo Member of Parliament, explained why he is forming a political party and what led to him and a few others to break away from the National Democratic Congress Party NDC. Mr. Musenge told Kopala TV News that their focus as a party is to try and see how they can work with the Zambian people and re-identify themselves and add value. In case you've just tuned in, you're watching the Kopala TV main news. Join us in a bit after this.
Yesu Kopala.
My number. Ishusho limentindeya za yama OG Orushani. Kopala TV.
Yama OG. Imuntu wandi Yesu. Fwebene by fwebene. Fwebene. I did the kalasti. Yako Kopala futi yaba Kopala.
Manje kuikatashani yoina. Na ena ya kuntambo oroni jiviji.
Wala iwe. Ile sango patopsta decoder. Channel 98 paku. Ninshi yatuvela. Puta mensa ninshi yalila ni efizimbwe. Kule izimoli la pemunjazi.
So yuri landati Kopala TV tayawanga ya boiling channel wako watu wachila tamba fe wino. Kwangwa filamba fyambo kupona. Uruwa mfotoro. Bantu ifuma channel wefingi fyamo pura fi.
Alola iwe. Kopala TV ni Kopala futi eile kuchalo. No shali mokuba molasti. Elo ile sansa Kopala yonse my number. Ukwambila pepa my number pandola lwansha. Kito paketi ke mufurila mufuken. Chingola pa chingo begi na chidila iwe. Ni Kopala TV eiliko.
Muntu wanja pakushongora fika top star wetata nde tambela pofi Kopala TV pachani 98 pakude konkana ne charo bamba to bamba ni pate after pate wo pate after pate wo Kopala TV OG Kopala TV available on Topstar channel 98. Kopala TV, entertainment just for you.
One Zambia, one nation.
Zambia chalo chesu. Stop political violence.
I am Zambian. I am against political violence.
I am Zambian, and I say disarm all cadres now.
It's not one Zambia if we kill each other. Stop the violence.
It's not good killing one another as Zambians. Stop the violence.
Let's keep the peace in our streets. Let's work to stay one Zambia.
It's not one Zambia if we kill each other. Stop the violence.
Ndimwina Zambia, lekeni ukulwa pamulandu wa politics.
Welcome back. Zambian DNA spokesperson Spoki Mulema says the political violence perpetrated by cadres should be condemned in the strongest terms by all well-meaning Zambians, as it odds the potential to disrupt peace and unity in the country. Mr. Mulema said in a statement made available to Kopala TV News that it's for this reason that the Zambian DNA is now urging both the ruling and opposition party leaders to tame their cadres from engaging in any acts of violence. And he has further advised opposition leaders to emulate President Edgar Lungu, who often condemns violence in the country at all times, adding that they equally expect the police to be firm in their quest to maintain law and order as to safeguard their lives and the lives of the people that they protect. And lastly, in our local stories, the opposition United Party for National Development UPND Copperbelt Youth Information Public Secretary Lazarus Sichamba has warned the PF and Economic and Equity Party EEP President Chilufya Tayali that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is not alone, but he is the national asset and shouldn't be touched. Mr. Lazarus told Kopala TV News that the EEP leader is being sponsored by the Patriotic Front to destroy the name of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema.
I just want to comment on the issue concerning the bothering of our president by the PF government and Kampiongo and their surrogates, Chilufya Tayari, that he has vowed to make sure that President Hakainde Hichilema must go in the cells, and he is making sure that he's reading all the issues concerning privatization. We want to put it on record that as youths on the Copperbelt and as Zambian citizens on the Copperbelt want to actually to warn, especially the PF government. We want to tell them that right now President Hakainde is not as an individual as they may think he is. Is now actually the national asset. Everyone is now looking up to the President Hakainde Hichilema to come and rescue this country from the economic woes and everything that is happening in this country. So I want to warn especially surrogates like Chilufya Tayari that he should actually stray his hands on the President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND, because we know that Tayari is just a surrogate and is just being feeding.
In case you've just tuned in, you're watching the Kopala TV menus. Join us in a bit after this for the international stories.
Kopala TV, Kopala ya buena buena mumwesu Kopala. Kopala TV.
My number ishusho limentindeaza yama oji orushani Kopala TV
yama oji imuntu wandi yesu fwebene by fwebene fwebene naidede kalasti yako Kopala futi yaba Kopala
manje kuikatashani yoina naena ya kuntambo oro ni jiviji
wala iwe ile sango top star decoder channel 98 paku ninshi yatobera puta mensa ninshi yalila ni efidimbwe kule izimoli la pemunjazi
so yuri ndati Kopala TV tayabanga ya boiling channel wako batu wachila tamba fe wino kwangwa filamba fyambo kupona uruwa mfotoro bantu ifuma chane wefingi fyamo pura fi
alula iwe Kopala TV ni Kopala futhi kuchalo no ushali mokuba molasti elo ile sansa Kopala yonse my number ukwambila pepe my number pandula lwansha kito paketi ke mufudila mufuken chingola pa chingo begi na chidila iwe ni Kopala TV liko
muntu wanja pakushongora fika top star wetata ndetambera pofi Kopala TV pachani o 98 apa kude konkana ne charo bampa to bamba ni pate after pate wo pate after pate wo Kopala TV OG Kopala TV, available on Topstar Channel 98. Kopala TV, entertainment just for you.
One Zambia, one nation.
Zambia chalo chesu. Stop political violence.
I am Zambian. I am against political violence.
I am Zambian, and I say disarm all cadres now.
It's not one Zambia if we kill each other. Stop the violence.
It's not good killing one another as Zambians. Stop the violence.
Let's keep the peace in our streets. Let's work to stay one Zambia.
It's not one Zambia if we kill each other. Stop the violence.
Ndi mwina Zambia, lekeni ukulwa pamulandu wa politics.
Welcome back. And now in foreign news. Votes are being counted in Guinea's presidential election following months of deadly unrest and a campaign marred by violence. The poll appears to have been largely peaceful, and dozens of opposition supporters say they had trouble casting their ballots. At the age of 82, President Alpha Condé amended the constitution, allowing him to run a third mandate despite widespread protests. We monitored Al Jazeera for this report.
This is when the trouble starts. Not enough observers, too many votes to count. Election officials say a record number of Guineans came out to take part in this election. Most are first-time voters, queuing hours before the polls open to have a say in the country's future, despite a divisive and violent presidential campaign with candidates fomenting ethnic tension. The voting was peaceful.
Give your vote, but not your life. We are Guineans. What we have in common is stronger than what divides us. The nation is what we have in common. Politics divides us. We have to favour the nation. We have to tell ourselves that we are Guineans rather than activists for political parties.
President's Guinean People's Party is largely backed by the Malinka ethnic group, while Diallo's opposition party is mostly supported by the Fulani people. At the age of 82, President Alpha Condé amended the constitution, allowing him to run for a third mandate despite widespread protest.
I wish for a free, fair, democratic and transparent election, and that everything is done peacefully and with tranquility. We will make sure all polling stations are secure. Guinea cannot develop if there is not peace, security and unity. We call on all candidates to avoid violence.
Already opposition candidate Diallo is saying he believes he has won the vote and accuses the election commission of favoring incumbent President Alpha Condé.
I'm not worried about the outcome of the election. However, I have major concerns for peace and cohesion if Mr. Alpha Condé tries to seize power through cunning and violence. This will not be acceptable to our supporters and to the Guinean patriots who will have voted for change.
The Welsh government is imposing a 15-day lockdown across the country to regain control of the pandemic. The First Minister Labour's Mark Drakeford said that without lockdown, the NHS in Wales could not be able to cope in the weeks and months ahead. However, there has been dismay and anger in parts of the world where the number of coronavirus cases is still relatively low. People will have to stay at home unless they are key workers or cannot work from home. Pubs, restaurants, hotels and all non-essential places will close. Primary schools will reopen after half-term. Secondary schools years 7 and 8 will return, but other pupils will learn from home. We monitored the BBC for this report.
At home. 3 words that brought life to a standstill in spring, now an instruction for Wales in autumn. This cafe bar in Cardiff will close. The government says people must be confined to their houses again for a fortnight to stop the virus spreading.
A fire break period is our best chance of regaining control of the virus and avoiding a much longer and much more damaging national lockdown. The window we have within which to act is only a small one.
Many had anticipated the news, but it's split opinion. Dewi and Nuria are divided.
Well, what concerns me is that it's blown out of all proportion, is that it doesn't seem to make a blind bit of difference of these lockdowns.
It has to be done because I've been looking at the numbers closely and they have gone up really quickly.
Leisure, hospitality and tourism businesses will close.
Elliot's the manager here. He's frustrated that in summer the government was encouraging people to go out. Now it's shutting them in again.
We've had many more customers than we would have expected through August coming in a time where a virus is spreading, and I think it's irresponsible on the part of the government, and it's led to this. Now we have to suffer after we followed the rules.
Across Wales, Halloween is cancelled, bonfire night too. But while coronavirus case numbers are high here in Cardiff, over in Pembrokeshire there are far fewer signs of a second wave and questions over why here too they must shut down.
I don't think it's fair that we're being locked down with the rest of Wales, and we have very low numbers. We've all been very careful in these small rural communities, and we've just done everything as carefully and safely as we can.
The Welsh Government warns it must act to stop hospitals from being overwhelmed. Last week, the number of COVID-related patients rose by 50%. This new intensive care unit will open in the lockdown. They desperately want to avoid cancelling elective care.
Kind of preparing for the worst, you know, we've dusted back off our surge plans, we've got all the spare ventilators back out of the cupboard, but I think it's with a heavy heart, and we kind of think we can't. Last time we turned the whole hospital off pretty much. Every spare member of staff was brought to ITU and retrained. Well, they're busy now, they're busy in theatres doing operations, we don't have that luxury again.
Businesses will need a lifeline too. This brewery has 160 pubs, but they didn't all survive the first lockdown.
Finally, in foreign news, Venezuelan migrants are on the move once again as Latin American borders and economies reopen after months of the coronavirus lockdown. An economic crisis at home has forced many to seek a better life abroad. But the pandemic is making their journey harder. We monitored Al Jazeera once again.
Each step harder than the last. Blisters and fatigue slow the Alvarez family down. Still, they soldier on, including their 4-year-old son, who's too young to walk. They've been walking for 8 straight days from their hometown in central Venezuela. They've made it to Colombia, but are still 700 kilometers away from their destination.
We want to reach Ibaje to work picking coffee. We just want to do whatever, construction, mechanic, anything to at least be able to give food to my family.
For the past 6 months, COVID-19 quarantine slowed the flight of Venezuelans to a trickle. But as economies reopened, thousands have hit the road again, in a new phase of one of the world's largest exodus. The pandemic is making their journey even more treacherous. With the border closed, Colombian authorities are stopping migrants, telling them to go back. We've been walking for days, we have nothing to go back to, this man says. And most shelters and soup kitchens along the way have been shut by officials trying to prevent gatherings. In Pamplona, a city 2,300 meters above sea level, hundreds are sleeping on sidewalks, braving cold temperatures. There used to be 4 shelters here, but none have been allowed to reopen.
And that item wraps up the Kopala TV main news. But before we end, a recap at the stories that made headlines. Kapianga warns HH and UPND against taking a band of thugs to Muchinga province. Nakaz demands for an urgent Indawa oversee SE. Mulemwa says political violence perpetrated by cadres should be condemned. And in foreign news, pause clause in Guinea's 10th presidential election. That's all we had for you on today's Kopala TV menus. My name is Diana Kafwala. And remember, we are one Zambia, one nation, and let us all say no to political violence. Pleasant viewing.